imagined it. Good evening. I elected to speak from here, and I told the organizers to indulge me because proximity is very important. I want to be close to you as I engage with you. First of all, allow me to take this opportunity to thank the Lord for all of you wonderful people, especially the leaders of this DMV area. We had a meeting last night and had some dinner. I had an opportunity to listen to quite a number of you, and because we have been interacting, many of you have become very close friends, and we are always engaging. I will explain shortly what I intend to do in the next 1 year, 1.5 years. I am going to be on a listening mission, just such as I am today, meeting Kenyans in groups of 100 to 150 maximum, to have conversations with people about our country and about the thoughts I have and what I think would happen in our country. I'm not doing so because I do not know, or I do not have ideas of my own on what I think would happen, but I'm doing so because quite frankly, I think a time has come for us to also change even the paradigms of how we manage leadership and how we engage public service, as it were. So I thank you very sincerely for this listening caucus this evening. That's how I'm looking at it. I have come here to listen. We need to change the top-bottom approach to public affairs, where leaders talk all the time, we give lectures all the time as if we are the ones who know and others don't know, when in actual fact the people we are supposed to serve are yourselves, and you have ideas and you know what you want to happen to your country. But for the short time I'm going to be here, I'm very, very grateful to you wonderful people for the time you have taken to be here. I'm happy that I've met some of you I've not seen for a long time. I think the 2 years I've spent at the bank, I didn't have an opportunity to move around, obviously because of the constraints of work. But now, since I started having these listening activities in the US and having meetings, I met a group of about 150 people in Atlanta, just like yourselves, the other day in Texas, and now today I'm meeting with you, mainly leaders from this general area. So there are many things I could say, but Kathy, you speak for me in more. And Dr. Gola, the same thing. You speak for me too. And I will try as much as I can, if possible, to respond to some of the issues that you have raised and some of the points you have. But let me begin at this particular this, because I think I have a responsibility as a public leader to say that, or as an aspiring public leader to say that. Chinua Achebe, long time ago, before even some people in this audience were born, wrote a very small book entitled The Trouble with Nigeria. And the opening sentence of that book was, "The trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely a failure of leadership." There's nothing wrong with Nigeria. There's nothing wrong with Nigerian water, Nigerian weather, or anything else. He said it's simply a failure of leadership. I think the first thing I would like to do tonight is something very practical that I've been dealing with in my own personal conversations with people since I came here. There are roughly, I think, about 300,000 or so Kenyans in the US, Balos, isn't it? About 300,000 Kenyans. When it came to registering to vote, probably about 10,000 or so registered to vote out of those 300,000 Kenyans. There are about 2 or 3 polling stations And even then, when it came to the actual voting itself, I don't think 3,000 Kenyans voted in 2022. So let me begin by saying this to you. And even with, as the leaders or aspiring leaders, we can't love your money and the remittances that you're making, but we don't love your contribution. My first challenge to you, wonderful people, is that you need to participate in electing the leaders of Kenya, so that then you can hold people to account. So because I'm a presidential candidate, I took it upon myself to begin conversations with people on how we can make this happen. And this morning I was talking to the people at the mission, and Mr. Maura, we agreed that you are going to form a small team that brings together leaders and representatives from other cities in the US, so that we can complete a proposal on how we can increase the polling stations in the US from the current 3 to 10 or 15, and then begin a process of sensitizing the Kenyans who are here to participate in the electoral process. Because, my brothers and sisters, whatever we do, unless we are participating in making that decision on who is going to make decisions for us, I mean, what are we going to talk about if you are not participating? We can only whine and dine and complain about it. And I'm going to tell people in Nairobi, for instance, that if the middle class in Kenya actually wanted to change the country, they can change the country. Going to Karen Club and having drinks at Karen Club is good, but it will not get us to where we want to go. Participating in the process will get us there. We can stay on X, it's a good forum, we can engage, yes, but voting, actually voting and going to vote makes a difference, because that way then you'll be able to take decisions that affect the way in which your country is managed. So my challenge to you, leaders, is that please follow up on this discussion we had with people at the mission to complete a proposal that will be looked at by the IEBC on front. As leaders who are outside of government, we have already started a process of both petitioning the IEBC and also with a perspective of going to court if need be, to see to it that we have more polling stations here in the US so that you guys can vote. Because if there was a polling station here tonight in Baltimore, there are more people here who would vote than all those who voted in 2022 from the US in the first place. So this is something I think we need to work on. That's where we need to start from in terms of our participation and so on. So let me go to my brief remarks tonight, and then I am looking forward more to interacting with you and answering questions and giving you my perspectives. And Kathy, I'm going to answer your questions, the ones you asked me about my experience in public service and what I think I'll do differently, as it were. Now, there's nothing wrong with our country. That's where I'll begin. I am one of those people who had the privilege of serving my country in the position of a cabinet minister for 10 years, 2 terms with President Uhuru Kenyatta. That was one of the best times in my life. With all the challenges and the crises, in the Ministry of Interior, for example, 2/3 of the time we operate on adrenaline. Because you sleep with phones on either side of your bed. There is no single night that you'll go through the night without those phones ringing, and none of them calls you to wish you happy birthday or to wish you a good night's sleep. It's a crisis after crisis after crisis. A dam has burst out in Solai, in Nakuru, and it has swept down families. Nobody knows, even at that time when the regional commission doesn't know how many families have been swept down. And that is 11 o'clock at night. From then on, there's no night for you, because you have got to gather the country together and make, decisions. Some crazy fellows have probably crossed the border, and we have been tracing them, and we have lost them. And chances are that they are likely to be terrorists, and nobody can trace them. We have lost them a bit somewhere between one point of the border and another. You cannot go to sleep because you don't know where they are headed. Because if they get there before you get them, you know what's going to happen. So have the time. That is the kind of life that you lead. But I want to say this, and this is my testimony. I say this very sincerely from the bottom of my heart. I thank the Lord for every minute, every hour I served. And as I said, it's the best time in my life. We were not the most perfect or ideal group of people, but by God's grace we were able to do much. And then I got to know the country in ways I never knew it before I went to public service, and enjoy and love my people more than I loved them before I came in, because I came to go into people's lives. You meet ordinary people and their experiences on a day-to-day basis. Some of them are heart-wrenching, others are inspiring, but it's all in a day's work, and it's a very exciting opportunity to serve. And for those of you who were with us last night, I spent a lot of time telling you about some of those experiences and how great they are and so on. So since independence, nearly 63 years now, we've had self-rule, we've had 3 administrations, actually 4. This is the 5th administration. And in addition to peaceful transfer of power, we have been relatively stable, except for when we have had challenges such as we did in 2007, and when we have had security challenges of one kind or the other. We are the anchor state in East Africa, and on the Horn of Africa, that's how we are perceived. We are the most influential and probably consequential environment within the Horn of Africa. Believe me when I say this to you, because of my exposure and travel, we are some of the hardest working people on the continent. And we have one of the most educated populations. The reason why people choose us for investment and so on is the leverage we have is the human resource capacity that we have in our country. So by and large, because I always start by telling people that even when we have political contestations and challenges as a country and as a group of people, the last thing we can do is talk down our country, because our country is our only home on earth, and we have a patriotic duty and a citizenship responsibility to always ensure that we draw a line between country and the leaders or the administrations that will come and go and that will change from time to time. Our country, by and large, is okay. The fundamentals of our country, right from independence, are such that we could do even much better than we are doing right now, which I'm going to come to shortly. But I have to say this to you, and if I didn't, I will be lying to you. We have very fundamental challenges in our country right now. I, as somebody who has served before and served in a very sensitive responsibility, I hate to break it to you, but this is the truth. I think our country is very close to the cliff, and we are facing very, very serious challenges. When you see the level of violence in the country, when you see citizens hijacking a police vehicle and driving it around, the anger and pain and frustration down below is unprecedented. I have not seen it before. Those of you who have come from Kenya recently, you can bear me out on this. The population is angry, frustrated, and especially disappointed because of unfulfilled promises, constant piling of lie after lie, failure in critical sections of our society and our economy. You know the challenges we are facing now in the education sector, nearly chaotic. No one knows what's going to happen next. Capitation not going to schools. I am told, because I speak to a lot of principals these days, that schools are going to close a bit early because of budgetary challenges and so on. All these are signs of state failure. But the one that worries me most, and the one that should worry you most, is one, that level of violence. And you are Kenyans, I'll be very candid with you. how Mungiki, how Sungusungu, and all these violent groups came up is they started, first of all, because the former state failed, the informal state took over. So as a result of the violence and the recklessness that we have seen from the formal state, the vigilante industry is going to start growing. And if the vigilante industry grows, it means we are setting and moving to an element of anarchy. That happens when our leaders are making excuses, you know, and saying, you know, it is this tribe or that tribe, it is the Kikuyus who are trying to destroy government, and so on. I said in public the other day when I was in Kiambu that, you know, this has been essentially a history of excuses. In the first year of the administration, they said it's Uhuru and his administration that left us empty coffers, that didn't do anything, and so on. Whole year. The following year, it was Raila and Asmio and the Luos who are bringing maandamano and causing problems. Whole year gone. The third year, it is ni Wakikuyu wanataka kuharibu serikali. The fourth year, it will be ni Wakisii na Wakamba na Waluya wanataka kuharibu serikali, and so on and so forth. That's why I said there's nothing wrong with our country, except that we elected through a democratic process incapable leaders who clearly, sometimes you wonder whether they had a plan to govern or they had a plan to do something else. Because if they had a plan to govern, we will not be in the state in which we are. And now, I want to answer the first question, Kathy, you asked. What would be the difference? I want to be absolutely frank with you. I am here and I am interested in running because I believe that I will offer better management and better coordination of government than what we are seeing. And why? I said the other day in a TV interview that after 10 years of service as a minister, and the last 4 of them spent as coordinator of government activities, I understand government almost like the back of my hand. That, you know, what actually needs to be done, Kenyans are not looking for a government to cook 1 million chapatis for them. They are not looking for, Kenyans are not looking for a government to make the bed for them or raise the children for them, or, you know, the Kenyans are looking for a government that will do one thing: just wake up in the morning, go put your ass on the chair and work. That's all. Do your work. And don't make excuses. You know, when you're supposed to do the work, don't make excuses and say it's so and so, it's so and so. My commitment, and I've been telling fellow Kenyans that since I put my name on the ticket and I put my hand on this, I'm saying this: hold me to account. I will not make excuses. I will not shirk. I will not hide. I will not fudge. I will not bend from responsibility. I will face responsibility head on and do the right thing. And there's no problem, because you see in Kenya, you have a fantastic institution called the public service. The public service in Kenya has been the basis on which, as a country, we have stood. People go into the public service, they do a fantastic job. Many of them are very professional and very committed people who need, and that's my second point, Kathy, who need trust, leadership that they can trust. Because the trust deficit in the administration is uncoverable. The distance between what they say and the truth is uncoverable. That people need trustworthy leaders, people they can trust. That if they tell you this is going to happen, it is going to happen. That's why I don't want to spend so much time criticizing others. I would like to spend more time saying, in my view, we would like to have a trustworthy government. A government you can believe. A credible government. Whether it's foreign policy, you know, our country, Kenya, over the years has been known for 3 things: stability, reliability, and credibility. That, you know, what we tell you is credible as a government. The reason why we are an anchor state in the Horn of Africa and in East Africa is because our neighbors trust us. Over the years, they have trusted us. The largest UN office in the south is in Nairobi. We have very credible relations with
the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, how on earth can we be the ones arresting opposition leaders and returning them at night to their countries? These things are hurtful to our image as a country. They affect our citizens, especially those of you who live outside the country. If today you were a consultant, a Kenyan consultant in Khartoum, working for a UN agency, how would you be comfortable when that government probably thinks you are a citizen of a hostile country? And it is unnecessary, the things we need to do. So, Kathy, I think the difference would be, I am interested in, and I believe there are many people in Kenya who are looking forward to honest and trustworthy leaders, people they can believe and people they can trust. All of you wonderful people grew up in an environment where you know viongozi wa kitaifa, wakubwa wa serikali wakizungumza mahali pale waseme kuanzia mwaka ujao mpango wa elimu utakuwa namna hii. Kila mtu anaamini hakika hivyo ndivyo itakuwa. Lakini tuseme ukweli, leo watu wakisimama pale ahadi, tumepata ahadi kama maelfu sijui 15 na hakuna hata moja, nothing. In 2022, just before the elections, I was invited to a meeting by Archbishop Olesabit and the Anglican bishops. And I spoke to them in this video clip that has been doing rounds all over. The bishops asked me questions about, you know, the budget. You're saying 5 billion, 2 billion to see border, I don't know which billion is to who. They asked me, I said, these are lies. You're just being lied to. I said that 3 years ago. And Kenyans, it has come to pass. And I said, the Chief Justice invited us to a meeting in Naivasha of the National Council for Administration of Justice. Everybody was in the room, including judges of the Supreme Court and the DPP, the entire justice sector was there. Then I was asked, including the late Jebukati who attended the meeting, I was asked this question about money and campaign finance. And I said, you know, this wash business we are seeing here, some of these people doing well on the campaign trail are people who are on the Interpol list for wash and money laundering. If we are not careful as a country, we are going to launder into elective offices up to 40% of these characters. And we will pay a price for it. Today, my colleagues, those of you who are in the finance sector, you know we have been grey listed. 3 weeks ago, the EU also listed us as an insecure financial transaction environment. It has never happened since independence. And the reason why I was very surprised about that EU one is that we are the only country in East Africa on that list. I want to be diplomatically sensitive. Sitaki kuongea mambo mengine niseme unajua hata Burundi haiko huko. Somalia haiko huko. Sisi tu ndio tuko huko kwa East Africa. Sisi ndio tumeandikwa hapo. Tunafanya ujeuri wa fedha vile tunafanya. So these are the issues. This is the reason why I would like to run for president, because I believe our country deserves and should get better. Our country deserves and should get better leadership, in my view. And you're not going to bring it from Mars or from Jupiter. The people are there. They are willing and ready to serve their country. What they need are leaders who will go and work. I have not arrived from heaven myself, and you know, I am not one of those who carry around a big Bible ambayo inaweza kukuangusha. I go to churches there every day, singing songs, hymns, trying to pretend that I am holy. I am a sinner like you. It's just that I am a realistic sinner who is able who would like to do his work and get his work done. That is it. Who will not make excuses when I'm supposed to deliver services, and who is willing to level with the people of Kenya and tell them the truth, as it were. We know when Gen Z happened, the demonstrations against Finance Bill 2024 in June 2024. First of all, I asked very many people, and you know, the privilege I have is that you cannot hoodwink me I think, as someone said in this room, the late John Michuki and myself are probably the most consequential ministers of security in independent Kenya. I was there for 5 years. I know our capacity and I know what we will do. How was our parliament overrun in broad daylight? And parliament is 2 kilometers from State House. So, and then MPs were scampering for life. What is shocking to me to this day, honestly speaking, and you Kenyans, I mean, this is something you should ask yourself questions and answer. No one has asked the question, what actually happened and why? Because in ordinary circumstances, we should have had an all-parties parliamentary inquiry, where all parties come together, have a parliamentary inquiry. In fact, if I was president that time, I would have worked with the leader of majority and worked with the speaker to have an all-parties parliamentary inquiry. Why? It would have given me an opportunity as president to listen to the Gen Z and to have an opportunity for them to ventilate so that I understand what is actually going on, have the parents come there, and it would have given us an opportunity as a country to do deep dive and soul searching on what we had not done that caused Gen Z to get to that point. So, we did not do it because viongozi wa kitaifa think they know everything. Then 25th June came, 2025, we lost more lives. Then Sabasaba came, we lost more lives. And my brothers and sisters, we cannot continue that way. That is not how we are supposed to live. And in all that, you can see irresponsibility, dereliction of duty, recklessness. And it's best demonstrated by the language you have heard leaders use and the sentiments that you hear leaders using. I was shocked in this day and age, 63 years after independence. There's somebody who talks about tribes. Where do you live? I mean, those things, nobody talks about those things anymore. I asked some friends last night where we were having dinner. Which one of us goes to hospital in Kenya and you are sick? You are very, very sick. You are shivering in your car. But then you ask people, please check on the list, what the tribal background of the doctor on duty before I go in. Because you just get in, you are treated, and sometimes you don't even know the ethnic background of the fellow who's treating you. But until you are treated, you go away. Why should it matter? When you walk to a bank, for example, in Kenya, you go to Equity or a family bank, you want services, you go to the teller. Do you first of all ask, by the way, where do you come from? Before you ask your money. It's transactional. You just fill out your papers or you discuss your loan and you go away. It doesn't matter anywhere else. Why should it matter when it comes to making decisions on the leadership of the country? It's because some of us tuko na shida fulani sijui ni ya kurogwa ya huko nyuma, which we should never ever as a country accept. And that's why the young people in this audience who are listening to me, Gen Z is an opportunity to step into the third wave or the third generation of leadership in Kenya, modern Kenya. This is what is going to give us. This thinking and this approach is what gives us a modern country. A country where the content of your character matters more than your surname. You know, the values you hold, the delivery of services is more important than your surname. Because all those primitive things where your surname is supposed to lead you somewhere, so that if your name is Omolo, then I make a decision whether or not you should pass through this gate. That time is gone. And Kenyans, let us not only resist, let us reject that kind of attitude. So, I'll speak about this until the cows come home, but this is my vision. That one, we can put up, and I can promise, we can put up a credible government that can be trusted, that will ensure the stability of the country, that is reliable. We will not do some of those things that will hurt the image of our country. When I have another time, I will tell you about some of these challenges that we had, even when I was Minister for Security, when some of our neighbors were trying those kinds of things, and we told them, we will not solve your problems. Your problems will be solved there. Don't drag us into your quarrels. Everyone is free to come to Kenya and have fun. as long as they don't break our laws. If you break our laws, that's a different story. But if you're just coming to do business in Nairobi, have a girlfriend in Nairobi, do whatever, you are free. Do business here, put up a whatever, that's fine. That's what our country is supposed to be. Because we want to be honorable and respectable members of the international community. And we are signatories to all those conventions, including the protection of human rights and stuff like that. That's what I hope we would do as a government. We would sit down and reorganize the education sector that is chaotic. Imagine, how can you not be frustrated if you are a young university student? You don't know when you're going to have help to start with. You don't know when the semester is beginning or ending. You do not know whether you're going to do exams or not. Statements fly left, right, and center from the ministry on your fate. You don't know which one to believe. The one that came out today, the one that was made by the minister, or the one that was made by the president. You don't know. Chaotic. How are you supposed to live your life? Yet, you know, in a sector like that, you're supposed to have a sense of predictability to move forward. I'll advance this argument, especially when we come to the campaign proper. We waived examination fees when we were in government. Because I can tell you, as a Minister for Education, when we looked at the budget lines and the allocations to the Examination Council and what we have in the budget in the ministry, there was no point really of levying examination fees, especially when you know it is actually going to be a wastage issue, it's going to be an inclusion issue, it's going to be a completion issue. For the educators in the room, like Dr. Weche, you know what that means is that there are people who are not going to do exams because they can't afford 5,700. And if they stop there, that is wastage. All the resources we are putting to educate them is wasted. And these people's lives is messed up. It means it is going to exclude some people. That's why it's an inclusion issue. Only those who are well-to-do will be able to do that. It means it's also a completion issue, because you see, you're going to start having dropouts as a result of this kind of bottlenecks. These are barriers to educational completion, as it were, and the educators in the room will understand what I mean. That is a way that affects the human resources we have for our country. I don't know whether I can be crazy enough to do those kinds of things in society. We would like to run a government that will pay attention to that, because that is, for us in Kenya, education is our gold mine, because that is how we train, and that is the foremost resource we have, and that is the leverage we have for growth and development. Go anywhere in this world, you will find Kenyans there, educated Kenyans working in all these international organizations. Sylvia, my colleague, is here. From next week, I'll call her my former colleague when my notice for the bank expires, from the World Bank. And they will tell you, there we have several economists. We are actually one of the few African countries, I can say that authoritatively, that have contributed significantly to the capacities that you have even at the bank here. It's because of our education. That is one thing we cannot miss. We need to address it, and we'll sort it out. We will secure the country and ensure that, you know, it is yani ni aibu ya ajabu. The people are walking around in the capital city of our country, in the capital, not only in the capital city of our country, carrying rungus and sticks and kicking doors, businesses, and so on. There are banana republics that are better than that. We cannot allow that. My brothers and sisters, let us all come together and ensure this does not happen as we go forward, so that we strengthen ourselves and strengthen our country. But you know, finally, and this is the last segment of my remarks tonight, I have not lost hope, and I will not lose hope in my country. And I want to ask you, wonderful people, because when there are challenging times like this, it's very easy to be tempted to lose hope, to give up on your country. And for you especially, who are here in the United States of America, like Kathy said, you go there, kukidoka, unarudi. Then you say, acha nikae tu. Then you are not going back, you are here, and everything seems to work one way or the other here. You drive to the seaside and have a nice weekend, get your friends on Thanksgiving Day and have a barbecue and stuff like that. That's fine. But look, even this one was built and it got here because people made sacrifices. So it is our turn to make sacrifices for our generation, so that our children and our children's children will find a Kenya that is like this one, so that other people will also come to our country and never wish to leave, because they will find that our country is also very nice, and it can happen. And the reason why I have this hope is because I can speak with authority. I know my country, I know my people, I know my fellow citizens. We are better people than this. My country is better than this. What we are seeing and the behavior of the people you see in administration and so on is not who we are as a people. That does not reflect the true picture of Kenya. I don't know about you, but look, my friends, I have been in the public service. I have seen police officers cross swollen rivers with examination sheets on their heads or on the side, walking through. They're not paid additional fees for that, protecting those papers and ensuring that those papers are not messed up. During Corona, I went to some place beyond Embakasi to thank some Kenyan women who had decided on their own volition, nobody asked them, government did not ask them, to cook for police officers who were manning the roadblock at that time. Two of them lawyers in Machakos. They had come together, organized themselves, and they were supplying food to those police officers, cooking for them every day. They actually created a makeshift kitchen. The government did not give them budget to do that. They volunteered, they mobilized women, and they were cooking for the police officers there every day. I went to Limuru at 1 a.m. at night one time with my colleague Mutai Kawe, who was then Minister for Health, to a police roadblock, and I found women from the local shops serving those police officers with tea and bringing bread. Government did not ask them. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Phyllis Wakiaga and Company, putting private sector people together to contribute water tanks for police stations and soap, so that police officers can wash their hands to deal with infection at that particular time. I have seen with my eyes how Kenyans turn up when we have a disaster, donating blood. When we call for food donations, when we have a challenge, Kenyans turning up in their numbers to contribute food. During Corona, we wouldn't have succeeded were it not for the big support we got from the private sector. The private sector team, chaired by Madam Karuku from East African Breweries, and bringing together all these people, committed, attending meetings every day without asking for sitting allowance, and guiding us and working with the government to secure the lives of our people. We are a great country, and we can do many things. I have worked with public servants who will not ask a question if you ask them to come to work over the weekend. As long as you are trustworthy enough, you respect them and take their advice, and don't politicize their decisions or try to create funny games of parachuting people because they come from your tribe and promote them and that kind of rubbish. Public servants who are committed and focused on serving their country. Our country is great. We are better people. So because of that, don't lose hope. We will rise again. We will cross the bridge. And this momentary challenge we have because of some challenges with some of our leaders, we will overcome it and build and move forward. After COVID, we said we will be built big and better, and we will go forward. We are the long distance running country. So we are resilient. We will do well as we move forward. So all I ask you, my brothers and sisters, is this. Let's go beyond these nice conversations we have. Mwaura, let us finish that petition. Let us have additional polling stations here in the US. wake up in the morning and vote and determine your leaders. Do not complain and write nice stories about what is working and what's not working. It is good to say that because we need those views. But you could actually make it even better by casting a vote and making a decision, and encourage your brothers and sisters back home to participate in the electoral process, to reject violence, reject the temptations to be divided, and reject all this kasumba mbaya that is being brought to us because of incompetence. You know, when people are incompetent and they are not able to work, they make excuses. You know, from morning up to evening, the first time they open their mouth, they say it is Mwaura. It is Mwaura who's not doing his work. Next time they tell you it is Major, and so on and so forth. And the work is looking at them, the challenges are looking at them. They are there every day, and all they need to do is just go to work, sit down, put people together and work. So that is how I think Kathy will make a difference. And I am committed. You asked me about my experience in public service. I've said it was a wonderful experience, and I succeeded because I trusted the people I worked with, and they trusted me, and every single day was essentially a celebration of our nationhood everywhere you go. Whether you meet rural folk or people, sometimes I was telling some friends last night that one thing that I am going to have to learn to live with in this thing I'm now doing, that I never thought I would actually first of all go into politics and start campaigning and looking for votes. Now I'm here. Sometimes it's an emotional experience, to be honest with you. Like when I went to Kiambu, Kenyans are really wonderful people. You meet these women, these ordinary women, some of them are actually walking bare feet. And if you even sit down with them, they actually know what the country needs, and they talk to you very responsibly and very nicely. Those people are not wheeler dealers, they are not cartels, they are not wishy-washy guys. They just want a peaceful and stable country. End of story. So, tuache mambo mingi na story mingi. Let's get some work done. Now I keep telling our leaders, every time they are sometimes even criticizing us and saying, oh, it's the opposition that is sponsoring violence. And I tell them, there is nobody in this world called opposition. People have names. Say it is Fred Matiang'i and give the evidence for it. Because even that blanket and general condemnation is part of that laziness and that recklessness and the escapist behavior, as it were. Be direct and say who it is who is doing that kind of thing. There is nobody called opposition, as it were. Just say who it is who support and provide the evidence for it. We are a mature country. We are better than this. We can do a lot of good things as a people. So, my wonderful people, join us, those of us who are walking this journey to making Kenya an even stronger, better, much more stable environment where we are all proud to be. Because I can guarantee you and I promise you, if we stick together and work the way we are working, our better days are ahead of us. So, our better days are ahead. So let's work together. I'm asking each one of you, when you have registered to vote for me. But I don't put a full stop there. I put a comma. I say vote for me, comma, and hold me to account. Yeah. And hold me to account, because this, I am not given to those types of stories. I used to enjoy driving in schools even at 6 in the morning and hanging out with the teachers and until the job is done. There isn't anything I cannot do if it is my assignment, if it is my work. And when Kenyans tell me about it, like I've had some of you refer to it tonight, please know this. I wasn't doing you a favor. You paid me to do it. So that is what you paid me to do. I was earning your money every month, and I pray that if you decided to hire me again, I'll be worth your salary. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. We can get seated. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And actually, I believe those who came here not convinced are convinced. And if you're not, we will have more meetings like this to make sure that you get convinced. Dr. Matiang'i has a history that if you Google it, don't listen to Baba Moore or Senator Moore. That's not enough. I'm biased in many ways. Just go check a little bit. Do a little homework. You know, look at the resumes of the people we're dealing with, a number of options. We're going to go to the question session. But there's one thing I want to say before we move on. If you really believe, and I know you do, that this is a journey we have started to State House, you're going to act like you're a person who's already in State House. What do I mean by that? For one, we cannot be carrying those tribalism we mentioned right here today in your own area. Because let people be attracted to us, to this campaign, by the way we behave, the way we act. They're going to say these people are actually different. Their politics is different. And therefore they will be able to gravitate to us. The other day, and we've observed interviews of Dr. Matiang'i, he's not accusing others, attacking others, and using language, insulting others. That is missing in his interviews. And it's intentional. So I would like us to be intentional also. When we talk to other people, because we will expand this tent. That's how we win. By being very intentional in the way we speak to the people we want to bring to our camp. Lies are not necessary. Attacking others are not necessary. If you have a good history, why are you attacking others? Give them your history. That's all you need to do. And you will be fine. The other thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to apologize saying this, let us not be caught up in our tribal cocoons. That's not going to help. For example, if I'm from, what is it called, Murima? Right on Murima. Murima cannot elect a president on its own. Just like Nyanza Kent. For that reason, be very sensitive when you are talking to others and trying to bring others in this camp. If we are going to make a good presidency, we have to start acting now like a good presidency. So now we're going to go to question and answers. I'm going to bring my very able secretary, SP. I've never had anybody called Spalatin, by the way. This guy is called Spalatin. Give him a clap, tafadhali. Good evening once again. Good evening, friends. Let me hear you say, restore Kenya. When I say Matiang'i, Matiang'i, restore Kenya. Restore Kenya? Matiang'i. Now, I have a very difficult task at this moment because I recognize that we are running short of time, and I have to apologize that we are not going to be able to have a roaming mic. At a time, I think 2 months ago, we did request you to submit your questions online, and from that, we collected about 70 questions. I have collated all those questions into the bundles that I have in my hands. The good thing is,
from Dr. Matiang'i's speech tonight, he has answered quite a few of those questions. Now, the task that is before me here is whether to go ahead and ask the questions and for him to choose to answer them or skip them. But let me say that I'm going to ask a few questions on current affairs and governance issues, because you've touched on quite a few of those questions, and we'll see how far we can go with this. We've all witnessed the violence that has been meted on young Kenyans, noted Gen Zs in Kenya, and infringing on their right to picket since June 25th, as the youngsters here spoke about earlier. The latest cases of Albert Ojwang and Boniface Kariuki are still alive in our minds. Now, as a former CS Interior, what is your take on the high incidence of police brutality and extrajudicial killings? I will bundle that with another question addressing the Gen Zs. What is your take on how the Gen Zs are going about presenting their views on this matter? You can address that, and then we can move on to governance issues.
Thank you for the questions. You see, and I think I'll explain this. I believe some of you will probably be hearing this for the first time. You know, the world over, police have what we call the foundational conduct of police is actually based on what we call the theory of training. In many countries, especially in communist-related countries or in Eastern Europe, police are trained to suppress the population, or they are trained in some cases to do work that is essentially militaristic and so on. Many civilian countries, especially democracies like ours, we train our police for purposes of just law and order, preserving law and order and tracing or investigating crime. So I'm saying this because even when I was in the Ministry of Interior, I was invited several times to Parliament to address these issues like extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances and so on. And I kept telling, you know, I would tell members of Parliament, and I would tell you today as Kenyans, and please, this is the fact of the matter. Our police and our security, our domestic security teams are not trained to suppress the population, or they are not trained to control, or as I said, brutalize the population. That is why our police system is civilian supervised, because the minister is a civilian, the president and the National Security Council in most cases is populated by civilians. Our security teams are civilian supervised. They're supervised by civilians, not trained security people as it were. And because of that, the police developed the elaborate document called standing orders. The police have got standing orders. And the standing orders basically is the code of conduct for the police. It is because everybody realizes that sometimes there may be individual police officers, and there have been cases where individual police officers have acted beyond the law or beyond their powers under the law. And that happens with every profession, because I mean, we have a code of conduct for teachers. I was Minister for Education, and I know cases where teachers were dismissed and punished for having affairs with students and that kind of thing. Because of that, that is why I normally say we have to drill down on these issues in a very specific manner, and that's why we call for accountability. And in cases where investigations have been done and culpability has been established, police officers have been jailed, and some of them have been punished. In cases where some of them have even been charged with manslaughter or even murder in that case, or execution for that matter. That's why on this particular issue, if you ask me what's my take on it, I have been calling for accountability. Let there be accountability for what has happened. And by the way, no one should tell you that we cannot get to the person who actually shot that part. Because you see, these teams move in the command in small groups as platoons and so on, and they are assigned particular areas when they are given assignments in the morning. So we can actually, there are many other things. I don't want to look like I'm betraying my former colleagues, senior security officials, but there are ways in which it can be established. You can drill down to the actual officers who are involved in those particular acts, and they are brought to book. They are punished. And if we don't do that, then we will have a rogue, a rogue security system. The reason why we always insist on accountability is because that is how civilian supervision is going to restore and ensure dignity in the policing of the country, as it were. Let me give you an example. A number of times when I was minister, I had these experiences, and let me give you practical examples. A border rider was killed by some police officers somewhere in Marani or somewhere there. And then I was invited to, because the matter became, problematic, so we were invited to investigate the issue. I went there with the Inspector General of Police. There is a unit we used to call the Internal Affairs Unit. And we drilled down to a point of actually getting the people who were actually involved in that particular incident. So it's possible, it's very possible to drill down to the respective incidents and ensure this is done. What is my take on how Gen Z are expressing themselves? I don't know of what kind of country we want to have where people don't express themselves. I've given this example before, and please, if you don't mind, you can indulge me. I give this example. When I went to education, I used to insist in schools, when I'm going to schools, especially for Parents' Day meetings, that let us now listen to even the students, because the general tradition of conducting affairs, in schools is you have a Parents' Day meeting, and everybody tunakula bilao, people stand up and go, and the students don't say a thing. Yet actually we have gone there for students. Educators in the room, like Dr. Weja know that listening to the voice of that is where inclusion begins and ends. So I went to one school and I told the principal, I want to listen to the students, give them a mic, let them also ask questions. And this girl asked a question, almost drove me to tears when she looked me in the face and said, and this is a girl who was in Form 3 or Form 4, told me, Minister, we work so hard in some of our schools. There are schools where people steal exams wantonly, and we know the basis upon which people are admitted to the Faculty of Law or to medicine and so on is on the basis of the grades they have. Now, those of us who are not able to steal exams are disadvantaged. What are you going to do to ensure that this does not happen? We were being called to account by our children, as it were. What is going on, honestly speaking, is something we can deal with less force, less arrogance, and so on, because there is nothing unusual or nothing extra that is being asked. What this is voice, the Kenyan population, they may be young, they are voicing themselves, they are saying this, they are voicing concerns and raising issues. Why don't you address those issues, as it were? And find answers. Where we don't have answers, we can confidently say we don't have the answers, or bring them on board. That's why I've been saying we must be as open as possible, because we chose democracy. Why did we choose democracy? We don't want to listen to each other. We chose democracy. That's where I think personally I have a problem. That we are not listening. Let's listen to the issues that are being raised. Some of the issues that are being raised by Gen Z are straightforward matters that you can see, like recruitment and so on. If you need 200,000 shillings or 300,000 shillings today to get that letter of employing a teacher, 300,000 or 200, where are these guys going to get that money? And this is what they're asking for, equity, they're asking for objectivity, meritocracy, and these straightforward issues. Why should we even debate them in the first place if we are serious people? In our society. So my view is, and then that is a position I've held for a long time, is not just for this circumstance. Let us listen to one another. Let us listen to the younger part of our population. And I noted the other day in an interview that 70% of the Kenyan population, 70%, 7 out of 10 Kenyans you will meet are below the age of 35. So the 30% are the ones now sitting on these 70%, as it were. And if we are serious people, honestly, and I believe we are, should we be spending our energy and time on this 70% of the population? And if we are serious about what we believe, and these are the people who should be investing more of our energy, because this is the way the country is going to be in the future. Some of us are facing the door. These ones are coming in. Isn't this the part of our population that we should be spending time? And when they ask questions, we brutalize them, or we think it's not necessary for them to ask the questions. So my view is, and lastly on that particular matter, there are many things I will, when I release my manifesto, I'm going to point out, for example, a program that I would like to encourage Kenyan leaders to espouse. You guys are living in the US. You know something called the White House Fellows Program. The White House Fellows Program is one of the most famous programs that has trained leaders in this country. You know, young top interns who intern in White House, who end up becoming leaders who do great things. Of course, the most famous intern was Monica Lewinsky, for different reasons, for the wrong reasons. But you see, I would like, for example, I have been writing a program with my colleagues on my campaign team to develop a program like that in Kenya, if I had the opportunity myself to be president, and then replicate it 47 times in every county. Imagine how many young people you will bring into leadership through that. And then train them. Lastly, people forget one thing, by the way. The Matibas, the Kibakis, the Uhurus who ended up becoming president, they started the experiment or the opportunity when they were 20-something years old. So why are we stopping them? Yeah, why are we stopping them? I mean, where are we going to get leaders from? Sasa tunakaa sisi tukae huko mpaka tukuishie huko, then what happens? Because we should now begin that process of trying those 20-something, bringing them, you know, and working on that program. So my vision, which I will publish in the document, is that one of replicating that White House Fellows Program and replicating it for 7 times in every county, and then using it to begin a new process of training young leaders. And I swear to you, I will manage it through a very brutal meritocratic process. Brutal. Yeah. I will not care whether somebody is Rendile or Michikenda or wherever they come from, whether they are pink, green or yellow, provided they are Kenyans. And then you will see where Kenya goes after that. I mean, it will be interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari, very, very much. As you have seen, they are dimming and lighting our lights because they're saying it is time. Huko kwa klabu tunaita last call. We may not be able to, as I said earlier.
One question is Mr. Matiang'i said that he wants us to speak and express ourselves. That's why
We're talking about time. This place.
we can just ask one.
What? Come. Kuja uliza.
We have many, but we'll ask one.
You see that lady over there? Kama utanisaidia kulipa check tukipitisha wakati.
Tuko na pesa tutatoa.
Pesa tutatoa wapi?
Tuko na pesa, hii ni diaspora. One question.
So, we would like to continue, as again we promised this place. And what I will tell you, it was very difficult to get this place. We want to be able to come tomorrow and get this place. Hello? So please. Yeah,
We don't want to
that's the problem.
a separate meeting because we want our questions answered as young people, because we've had this narrative over and over again, and that's why we came, because we want to know if we are open to supporting the best candidate. We came to be convinced, but we are tired of being silenced as young people, not being given a platform all the time and being, so yes, me
Ask the question, one.
just one there, okay.
You can get out of it.
Yeah, so in the event that you become the president of the nation of Kenya, because there is a high possibility you will be the president, And given the atrocities that Ruto has done, how will you hold President Ruto and his out of office and the complicit politicians and police officers accountable for over 94 deaths that have occurred at the protests that have occurred since last year and now? We want to see him jailed. That's what we want. We want all of them held accountable.
This is why maybe next time we have a meeting we should start with them. Yeah. So that, first and foremost on this matter, I believe very strongly, by the way, in accountability. That you know, for every action that you engage in when you're in public office, I believe in accountability. That you should be asked questions and you should answer for what you have done when you're in public office. That's why for many times we have been in public. You know, by the way, I have answered questions myself about Rivayara. I've answered questions about cases of forced disappearances and said where investigations were not complete, the files are there, they should be complete, and I am myself ready to go before an inquiry. I think for this particular reason, and I agree with what you are saying, we should allow, we have enough instruments. You know, we are a country that is ruled by the constitution and rule of law. We have enough instruments. We will not actually even need to invent any new instruments or write any new law. We are both local and international instruments. And you know, by dint of the fact that we are signatories to these international instruments, I am sure that some of them will probably not even need us as a government or as a country to invoke them. I have said this before. This is not the first time I'm saying it, so that someone says I'm saying it before I'm here. I have said it before in a separate interview in media in Kenya, that you know, people need to be advised about one thing. And I used to tell even police officers when I was their minister, don't take instructions from me to do something wrong, because when you're standing in the dock, I will not be there. The truth of the matter is this: let us all pray and hope that, one, we have a peaceful movement and transfer of power, because the stability of the country is very important. And two, when that happens, I promise you that I will not depart from the line of accountability according to the law and according to what's happening. So that you see, sometimes our countries have got fragilities or certain challenges that we all know. If you politicize certain things, you can end up plunging the country into a chaotic situation. But if you stay on the path of the law, you are always better off if you stay on the path of the law, and the law assists you. Let me finish with this statement. The former head of public service, Mr. Francis Mudaura, when I was in government, we used to have challenges of one kind or the other. So I used to like consulting these wazes, sit down with the Mudaura. And Mudaura told me one thing that I will never ever forget. He told me, you know, Minister, if you actually lived by the law, you decided to yourself when you wake up in the morning, you are going to respect the law and you are going to follow the law, you will be a very peaceful man, because you will have nothing to worry about. Because the law makes it easier for everybody, for those who are aggrieved, for those who have been accused, to do the right thing. So I think my view is, let us pray even as we part. Let us pray that we have that a peaceful arrangement, and through that we ensure that the law and the constitution we have in place, which is strong enough, comes into play. I will not betray the constitution. That's my promise.